So my buddy Dylan from Columbus invited me down to do some bike packing and mountain biking in an area he's been telling me about for a while. This is down in the Athens area by the Wayne National Forest, Nelsonville, all that. So I guess you're about an hour south of Columbus. So I went down on the day before, so we'd be able to leave early in the morning the next day. I didn't know when I was going to get into Columbus, and that's why I didn't hit any of my other Columbus friends up. But I finished my work on that Saturday, hopped in the car, headed down to Columbus, met up with my friend Brad, who I was going to spend that night with, and we ended up cruising around Columbus a little bit, getting dinner. I always enjoy riding around Columbus. There's good bike infrastructure there, a lot of bike lanes, the different bike paths and stuff like that. So they kind of showed me around. We saw some stuff. We got some really good vegan food. Both of them are vegan, and I don't mind good vegan food either. So yeah, had a great dinner, then headed across the street to Hoof Hearted Brewing, which is a place that I've wanted to check out for a while. We get their beer up here at Taco Tano's out in Kent when we do our Kent rides, and so it was cool to actually finally see the location. Just had one beer. Wasn't trying to get crazy, as you know, we were going to have a fairly early morning and a lot of riding the next day. So cruised around. Me and Brad ended up actually crashing over at his girlfriend's house, and then I got over to Dylan's, I think, 7:45 in the morning. So I'm saying early. I know that's not early for a lot of you. I'm just not a big early bird anymore. So it's on the early side for me, especially on the weekend. So that was the Sunday. We hopped in the car. Dylan's buddy Devin came over, and I've met him a couple times before. He's come up here to do some riding when I've gone down to hang out with Dylan before we've ridden together. So that was good. And then we went and picked up our buddy Ed. So he lives on the other side of Columbus, picked him up. Dylan has a great little van. He was able to get 3 bikes on his back rack and put his bike inside the van with us, and it was still all comfortable. So great riding down together, great not having to take 2 cars and all that. We got down and we went to a trailhead at Strouds Run State Park. It looks like there's a couple different little park areas put together just right there outside Athens. So we parked the van, we got set, and we set off, and Dylan said, we are going to be getting right into it. And he wasn't kidding. It was rooty, rocky climbing right out of the gate. Where this trailhead is down below a dam, so you kind of climb up to the lake level and then up into the hills. These trails at Strouds Run remind me of, if you're from here in Ohio, I made a video on West Branch. You know, you have a lake and you're riding around the lake and you kind of go in and out of the little ravines, but they are old, what people say are hand-built trails, which have a distinct vibe a lot of times. And it's like the slower going, curvy, technical. For me, put a foot down in different spots. Like there would be like those little steep bumps up with some roots that I couldn't make it up, especially on a loaded bike. But I'm not trying to sit here and say I would have made it up on an unloaded bike. So yeah, it's that kind of tough, slow going riding, but that's really, really pretty. Like very narrow single track, sometimes almost like kind of in like a tunnel of green as the, plants and the bushes and the, all the summer foliage just almost surround you at some points. But really cool and worthwhile because, you go through some cool sandstone formations and all that. I would also say if you're not from Ohio, if you're one of the Michigan guys and like the North Country Trail, it reminded me a lot of parts of that, like especially when you're going through the old growth forest. I made a video about that recently too. So it's definitely that vibe. It's that like where you're just kind of chugging along, at a slower pace but just really enjoying feeling like you're way out there, and it's just really pretty. So yeah, I was riding the Gunner Rock Tour Adventure. I've got the Velo Orange granola bars on that the sweeps. I really like that setup. These trails, if you were going out just to ride them, you would be better off on a hardtail or full suspension bike. It is bouncy, it is rough, it's challenging. You're still not really going to be crushing too much, but there are some sections where you do get some downhill, as you'll see, and you can pick up a little bit of speed. For me, with the loaded bike and the bike I was riding, I still wanted to feather the brakes a little bit because you could turn a corner and it could be some kind of little rock formation or some big roots, or it could drop into a little ravine really quick, where like a stream came through. So yeah, still really cool and enjoyable, but just that kind of, slow going, plodding along, taking in the views and enjoying the ride. I think part of it that made it more enjoyable was that we were bike packing on our loaded bikes. So we were getting somewhere. And that's kind of how I felt a lot of times on the NCT2 North Country Trail. When it was a little tough, it was like, well, yeah, I'm moving along and I'm heading to an ultimate destination. So after we jumped off the trail, we could have done another little loop. We decided against it because I think when we got off of the Strouds Runs trails, we were about 12 miles in and we had already done about 1,500 feet of climbing. And again, none of them are real long sustained. It's a lot of that up and down and it tires you out. There were a few that got us up to a ridge line, but there were no overall like giant climbs. It's just that really, that constant, you're just not riding a ton of flat ground. So yeah, we opted, I think 3 of us voted to opt out of doing another loop and instead jump down into the outskirts of Athens and then over onto the Hahawking-Adena Trail. This trail is a paved bike path that goes between Nelsonville and Athens. I think it's a little more than 10 miles maybe. Actually did one of my first bike trips ever there with when me and Aaron started riding together. We, I think, parked in Nelsonville, rode to Athens, had lunch and rode back. We stopped in Athens. There was a market that had good food and they had a couple little tables in their cafe. So we just ate some, sandwiches and pasta, salad, all that kind of stuff. Had some pops, get some sugar, and then we rode on. I think we did about 8 miles on the trail, and we felt like we were flying. I mean, riding at like 15, 16 miles per hour after what we were just doing, just felt like we were really, really moving. But yeah, so that was cool and it was fun. Stopped, filled up our water there was a little restaurant like halfway down. And then we jumped over on some gravel and poached some train tracks because it's not a ride mine unless you poach some railroad ballast, as you know. So did that and got into Chauncey. It looks like it's pronounced Chauncey, but I was told it's more pronounced Chancey. So, which is a little town where the trail head to the Bailey's Trail System in the Wayne National Forest are. And there's a pump track right at the trailhead. We did a couple laps on the pump track and then we were off onto Bailey's. Bailey's turned out to be one of my favorite trail systems I've ever been on. So this is the machine-built, fast-rolling trails, just flowy, bank curves, up and down. But we are going to get in that in the next video because I need to get ready because I'm taking off to head up to Hodag, up through the Upper Peninsula into Wisconsin. So I just don't have time to finish that part of the edit. So there will be a part 2 to this video. Look forward to that because this is some really fun riding, and also the campsite we stayed at and all the information about that is really interesting. So if you do dig this stuff and you want to support it and maybe help me have more time to do editing and stuff like this, consider becoming a channel member or maybe buying some stickers or t-shirts. All the links are below. Hit the like button. See you in the next one. Peace.